Hey guys, so as you guys can tell by the title, today I'm going to be filming a video that is really hard for me to film, um, but I wanted to go ahead and get it out right now while everything is still really fresh in my mind and I'm able to kind of remember as far as dates and whatnot. So as you guys can tell by the title, I did have a miscarriage. If you guys have been following along with my channel for a little bit, you guys know that me and my wife have been trying to have a baby via sperm donors, IUIs, IVF, for a little bit, no, not a little over 2 years now. This would have been month 27 that we would have been trying. So 2 years and what, 4 months. And this is the first time that we've ever gotten pregnant. The one that ended in a miscarriage. So, I don't want to ramble too much. I just want this to be like as unedited as possible, and I just want this to work as like a beacon for other females to know that you're not alone and you're validated in your feelings and your emotions. So, let's go ahead and get right into it. So, on Saturday, June 6th, that was Isaiah's birthday party. Isaiah is our son. He just turned 7. He's our 7-year-old son. It was his birthday party, and that was actually the day I was due to get my period. So that day, I remember the day before, actually, I woke up and I was like brown spotting, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm about to get my period. Because I had been testing that whole week because we did try that month. So obviously, so I had tested that whole week and it was negatives, nothing but negatives. So I was like, okay, so it is what it is. We'll try again next month. Not a big deal. So it was the day of his party and it was just, again, still brown spotting from Friday to Saturday. But that's kind of normal for me. I usually like brown spot, cramp a little bit right before my cycle like completely starts. So, as the day goes on, I'm really busy doing everything for his party, so I wasn't really paying attention, and I didn't really realize that like my flow hadn't completely started yet. So as like the night kind of wound down, I was like, okay, that's a little weird, but at the same time I kind of just figured like I was so active, I was so busy, we were playing on like the water slide and stuff like that for his party, that I was like, okay, maybe it just didn't kick in. It'll probably kick in tomorrow. Sunday rolls around and the brown spotting was completely gone. And I was like, okay, that's even weirder. So for some reason in the middle of the day, and everybody was home at this point, my wife, my son, everybody was home, I just decided, I was like, you know what, I have some leftover cheapy pregnancy tests, the ones that you just get from Amazon. I was like, let me just take one, just to like prove myself wrong, just to shut myself up and, stop worrying about it. And I took it, and it was like as soon as the pee went over the line, there was a second line there. And I was like, no, something's wrong. This test is screwed up. I was testing 3-4 days ago, and I was getting negatives. So I was like, no, this test is screwed up. Let me just go to the store. So I went to the store that day, and I went and I picked up a clear blue, 2-pack of clear blue digitals, and then that triple check first response. So it's like the one with the 2 lines, the digital that says yes or no, and then the rapid response one. So I took and I had already thrown my pee out. The one that I had, TMI, sorry, this video has a lot of TMI, but I had already thrown that pee out from the little cheapie test. So I had to wait until I had to go to the restroom again. So I went to the restroom again, and I dipped the first response. And again, soon as the pee went over, 2 lines, and they were 2 distinctive lines. So I was like, what the heck? There's no way. So I took a digital, and sure enough, it said pregnant. So at that point, I was really emotional. I was crying. I was so excited. But I didn't tell my wife. I decided to wait, and I decided to do something special for her. I ended up buying like a onesie that had like this really cute little saying. Yeah, I don't want to get emotional about it. So I found out on Sunday, June 7th. Now, I was looking because I didn't have like a regular OBGYN. I just had like our fertility specialist, which she kind of just works with us for the IUIs, IVF cycles. So I didn't want to call her. So I found an OBGYN that I was close to me and that, you know, had decent reviews. And I called her office on Monday, and I wasn't expecting her because they asked me, they were like, when's the last day of your last menstrual cycle? And I told her, I was like, it was May 6th. And so I figured she would understand, like, oh, she's only like 4 weeks. So I figured they would have me wait. But sure enough, I called Monday and they had me come in that Wednesday. So I went in for my doctor's appointment, and the first thing that she told me was, has anybody ever told you that you have high blood pressure? And I told her, no, like, I've never heard that. And if anything, I would think that I wouldn't have problems with high blood pressure right now because I'm actually like losing weight. I know that when we tried for like our IUI, I was like closer to like 190, and actually this time when I went to go get weighed in, I was like 160. So I was like, no, I've never heard anybody say that, and we've been trying with fertility doctors. I feel like they would have said something about that. She's like, well, it's elevated, and it just like, I don't want to talk bad about her because she seems like a genuine person, but I just didn't like her tone. I didn't like the way that she was kind of talking to me. She gave me a bad vibe, and I should have kind of realized that right then and there. But anyway, so she did, you know, the regular appointments. She did, you know, the full pregnancy exam, breast exam. She did pap smear, all that stuff. And then she had the nurse book me an appointment for 2 weeks from then to monitor the high blood pressure, and then she also had me booked for an ultrasound at the end of the month. So, but one thing she did tell me was, how long ago was it that you got your positive? And I told her I was only like 2-3 days ago. And she was like, okay, because ours is only very faintly positive. And I was like, okay, so what does that mean? She was like, well, I want to send you in for blood work just to make sure everything's okay. So I was like, okay, cool. So that same day, she sent me with papers to the lab. I had to get my labs drawn for my beta results. And I don't know if you guys can see that, yeah, but I'm still pretty bruised up from it. So I went to go get my beta tested, and that was it. I didn't hear from her from the rest of the week, and I had gone onto the website for the lab, and it said, you know, your results have already been sent to your provider, and I didn't hear anything about it. And I was just like, okay, so is she going to tell me? Is she not going to tell me what's going on? So literally that whole week passed without incident. I told my wife on Thursday. She was really, really excited. I think that's kind of what breaks my heart. I did get it on video, but I don't think, you know, for our healing purposes, I would ever post that at this point. You know, maybe if we do, if God willing, we get, you know, a rainbow baby, maybe we might post it on there just to kind of, you know, reminisce on it and just know that after every storm comes a rainbow. So, as I'm already getting off track. So I told my wife on Thursday, and everything was good. That week passed, all that stuff. And keep in mind, I still haven't heard from my doctor about my beta results. She still didn't tell me anything. And so I was like, okay, well, that's weird. And I just remember thinking, like, shouldn't she have called me? Like, she told me, you know, we want to run these tests and we want to make sure everything's okay. Like, I figured she would have called me and told me, like, yes, they're definitely positive, they're this amount, and whatnot, and she never did. So anyway, fast forwarding to that Saturday. So this past Saturday, which was June 12th, I think, I was just at home. My wife was working, and it was just me and Zaya, and it was probably around noon. And at this point, I would have been like 5 weeks exactly. I remember it was around noon, and I went to the restroom, and I wiped, and there was like a brownish discharge, and it was like a brown spotting, like what I had experienced last week when I thought I was getting my period. So I was like, like, that's weird. Like, I wonder what that is, you know? And even though I felt like at that point, like, I wanted to be like, oh, it's whatever, like, don't worry about it, I feel like deep down in my heart, like, I knew this was not right. And even though they say, like, oh, it's normal, I don't feel like any spotting is normal, because even though they're like, oh, well, it could be this, it could be, you know, an irritated cervix, that's not normal, that's still not normal. So I got a little upset and I was like, this can't be happening. Like, there's no way. Um, so I kind of tried to brush it off, but I did kind of get upset and I got a little bit emotional about it. And when my wife got home, I kind of started crying and I told her, I was like, I'm spotting and it's making me nervous. And she was like, don't worry, it's fine. Can you call your doctor? Obviously, no, I couldn't. My doctor's office was closed Saturdays and Sundays. And for some reason, she doesn't have like a 24-hour helpline or nurses or nothing. So I couldn't really call her and ask her what was going on. So I kind of ignored it. And my niece had a birthday party that night. So I know I was gonna get ready to take a shower so that I could start getting ready for her party. And at this point, it was probably like 2:30 or 3. And I went to the bathroom again, and I wiped, and it was brown red. Like, it was some brown spotting, but it was also like a deep red spotting, and like not like bright red, like at the start of your cycle, but like deep red, if that makes sense. So I just remember like I got really emotional about it, and I called my wife and I told her, I was like, this is not okay. And I looked at her and I was like, this is not normal, like this is not okay. And as I'm already getting emotional, she kind of like looked at me and she's like, it's okay, it's gonna be okay. And I told her, I was like, no, it's not. Like, I know it's not. This is not normal. This is not okay. And sorry. And she was like, just take a shower, try to relax, and everything's gonna be okay. But as like after I got out of the shower, I went to the bathroom again just to check, because I'm just, at this point kind of feeling down about it. And sure enough, it was more and more red at this point. So I told her, and she just kind of broke down. And I think that part hurt the most. It was like seeing her break down. It was like, it broke my heart, because I feel like I kind of took something away from her that she really, really wanted. And it just broke my heart. So I got ready, was gonna go to the party, and my wife just like didn't want to go. And it was just because she was just so upset, and she was like, I need some time to just kind of, take in everything, because I feel like I don't want to break down in front of a big group of people. And at this point, I was, hurting, like, emotionally, but I was still trying to be like that beacon of hope. Like, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be okay. So I went to the party with my mom and my son. And when we're there, I start getting hit with like these really uncomfortable bouts of nausea. And I had really bad nausea when I was pregnant with Zaya, so I was like, okay, maybe this is a good thing. I'm starting to get nauseous. Maybe, that's what it's working towards. Maybe, it implanted. Maybe it's even multiples. Like, all these things were going through my head. And then once we were there for about 20-30 minutes, I started getting this horrendous pain in my head. Like, my head was throbbing. And then I started getting the same type of like throbbing pain in my back. And it was like my lower back. And it was just the most painful things I have ever experienced. It was just a tremendous amount of pain. And for it to kind of be throbbing in my head, throbbing in my back. And at this point, I started to like light period cramp. So I left the party kind of early. I came home and I started getting sick. Like, I started throwing up and I just did not feel good. The pain in my head would not go away. The pain in my back would not go away, and I couldn't eat. And so I ended up just going to sleep that night and kind of just try to sleep it off. Sunday rolls around and the red bleeding kind of stopped a little bit, but it was still like reddish but more brown at this point, spotting, and it was really light still just when I wiped. So again, I was kind of trying to be that beacon of hope and just kind of push it off. And at this point, like the pain in my back was still there, my cramping was light but it was there, and then my headache was still there. But that was it for Sunday. On Monday, I called my doctor right away. I told her what was going on, and she was either didn't have the time or whatever to talk to me. So I ended up talking to a nurse on Monday, and she was like, okay, let's go ahead and send you in for blood work again. And I was like, okay. And she just told me just monitor it. Just monitor the bleeding, monitor the pain, monitor all this. I was like, okay, like, I don't know. Again, I don't want to like badmouth them because they seem like really genuine people, but at the same time, I feel like she should have been a little bit more concerned. Like, she wasn't asking me any questions. Like, I was the one telling her, like, this is what's going on, this is the pain, this is what it looks like, this is, and she wasn't asking me like anything. So it was a little frustrating. But she ended up sending me for more blood work. They sent my the paperwork to the lab, and I went and I got my blood work done. Sorry. So I got my blood work done, and I didn't hear anything about it. And keep in mind, at this point, I still didn't know my beta results from the first blood draw. So I went and I got my blood work done, and that night kind of just stayed the same. The pain in my back was pretty just consistent, like achy pain, my headache, and my light period cramps. So Tuesday rolls around, and my wife goes to work. I'm by myself with Zaya, and I look on the lab's website, and again it says your results have already been sent to your provider. So I called her office, and she told me right away, the lady who answered, she was like, oh, well, the doctor works at a hospital on Tuesdays. So I was like, oh, okay. So she was like, she'll take a look at your results, and we'll give you a call back. And I was like, okay, cool. And at that point, again, the brown spotting was almost gone. And I was like, okay, maybe it's good news. Maybe something, maybe I did just irritate something. Or maybe it was, I don't know, mold. I don't know what I was thinking at that point. I was just trying to be as hopeful as I could. And I just remember being more hopeful because the spotting was pretty much almost gone. And the pain was still there. But I was like, okay, maybe it's just stretching, growing pains, whatever. But then it was probably like 10:30, and I got up and I went to the restroom, and I just remember I looked down, and the whole toilet bowl was just full of just red blood, like beginning of your cycle, bright red blood. And I just remember like thinking like, this is like some kind of sick joke. Like, how is it that we finally, conceive this baby and this happens? And it was really, really hard, and I kind of broke down, and I still had my son with me, so I couldn't really like go out and cry about it. So I was in the restroom, and I just remember getting down literally on my knees in the bathroom and just saying like, why would you let this happen? Like, I'm not a very like religious person, but at that point I felt like I was so angry at the world, so angry at myself, so angry at my body that this could happen. And it killed me. So I got up, I wiped, and obviously there was just so much of it, like red blood, like red bleeding. And probably like within the hour or so I got a call from the nurse, and she told me, she was like, hey, we did get your blood results, but the doctor hasn't had a chance to look over them, so we'll call you back when she does. And I told her what was going on, and she was like, okay, monitor, stupid word that she likes to use. So she just said, monitor the bleeding, monitor the pain. If it gets really bad, call us back because we're gonna have to send you to the ER. So I was like, okay. And then I called my wife, or I texted her, and honestly I told her, I was like, we don't have to wait for the test results. I know what's going on. I know what's going on. Like, I know. And she was really upset. She was really devastated, and she said that she was crying at work to the point where she just said, she told her boss, I have to go home. And her boss had already known because she had to request some time because she wanted to be there for my doctor's appointments. So she texted her boss what was going on, and he let her go home for the day. And when she got home, I was starting to cramp horribly. Like, these cramps were so intense, and they were, again, going from my stomach, like from my pelvic bone, all the way to my back, and there was just so much pressure in my pelvic bone. It was so painful. And I know when she got home, like, I was crying. I was a mess. I was a horrible mess. And she was crying. She was upset. It was just like, it was just such a whirlwind of emotions. And so I just remember probably like 2 hours after she got home, I had to go to the restroom again. So I went to the restroom, and I just remember like feeling like I wasn't like peeing, but there was just blood coming out. And I looked down, and sure enough, it was just like blood was just coming out. Like, and I make it sound like it's like a river. No, it wasn't. It was like, it looked like I was peeing, but it was just blood. And then I got this horrible pressure in my pelvic bone, in my back, and it just hurt so bad. And I just remember, and sorry if this is graphic, I don't know. I just remember kind of, pushing out a little bit, and I just felt 2 or 3 really big blood clots come out. And when that happened, it was like the pain in my back subsided, the pain in my stomach subsided, and it just kind of felt like it was over. And sorry. At that point, I knew. I was like, okay, that's it. That's what it was. Like, that's somewhere in there is my baby. And I didn't want to like go looking or anything, because I did not want that to be like the last thing on my mind. So I started crying again. I broke down, and I was just like, God, like, why is this happening? Like, I have no luck. Like, and I remember I told my wife, I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, we try so hard, and for what? Like, for us to finally get a positive, and to be so excited, and to be so, in love with this baby already, and for all of it to get taken away. It was just so hard. After that, I went to the living room, and I told her what happened, and she, got really upset. She was crying, I was crying. It was like I said, a whirlwind of emotions. So probably like within the hour, I got a call back again from the nurse. The doctor never spoke to me, which was really concerning to me at this point, that she didn't even decide to talk to me or say anything to me. And the nurse was like, hey, the doctor did have a chance to look over your blood work, and your HCG levels are decreasing. And so she was like, it's not a viable pregnancy. You're gonna lose this pregnancy. And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I already did. And I told her what had happened, and she was like, yeah, that's gonna happen. She's like, just remember, it's normal. What you're going through is normal. I know it's hard, but it's normal. And I just like, it just felt like she had no compassion. And I know, that they're not supposed to get emotionally involved, but at the same time, I just felt like she wasn't like comforting in any way. She was just like, well, just remember it's normal, and just monitor the bleeding, and if you soak more than 2 pads in an hour or something like that. I don't know what she said. And I asked her, I was like, well, what were my HCG results? You never told me. And she was like, oh, they're like in the 90s. And I was like, okay, like compared to what? Doing what? And I just felt like I had no answers. So after that day passed, my wife, she's amazing. She took 2 days off of work to be home with me, just to make sure everything was okay, and that everything passed the way it was supposed to. And like I said, I'm pretty sure I passed everything on Tuesday, because since then, I haven't really had any pain. I'm still kind of, I say a lot, I'm sorry. I'm still, kind of spotting here and there, but most of it is already gone. I logged on to my laboratory's like patient portal, and I actually ended up finding out that my first beta results were 147, which was on that Wednesday where I would have been like 4 weeks 3 days, and the one from Monday where she actually told me like, oh, your levels are just decreasing, was actually already at 31. So my guess is that, and this is like not, obviously I'm not a professional, I'm not a doctor, but my guess is that I was already losing the baby by Saturday, and the pregnancy just passed on Tuesday. So, I mean, it's been 3 days now, and like I said, I wanted to do this video to make sure that everything was still fresh in my mind and that my emotions were still raw, because even though, you know, it's hard to cry on camera and to show you guys that vulnerability, it's real. And even though they say it as like some type of statistic, like, oh, 1 in 4 pregnancies will end in a miscarriage, it's like, it seems like so much more than that. And it's incredible to think that so many women have gone through this and they don't want to speak up from fear of like being, you know, patronized about it, and, you know, people giving their opinion and telling their opinion one way or the other. And that like hurts me so much, because that's a time where all you need is support, and you just need somebody to tell you, like, you know, I'm here for you. And, you know, the words like, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't imagine what you're going through. Like, no, you probably can't. And, you know, every situation like this is tailored to your own personal situation, but there are some amazing Facebook groups and amazing women that'll talk to you about it, and that'll tell you, like, I know, you know, what you're going through, I know what it feels like, and I know how hard it is, and you're completely valid in your emotions to feel sad, to feel anger, to feel grief, to feel like you're grieving this life. Because I mean, I guess it depends on your religious beliefs or your beliefs in life in general, but at the end of the day, like, that's your child. You might not have carried it for very long, and you know, it might have been even early and all that, but that was still your child, and you still have every right to feel however you want to feel. If you want to feel angry, if you want to feel sad, upset, mad at the world, like, you have every right to do that. And I just want I just want any other woman out there going through this to know that, you know, it's okay. It's okay to feel upset and mad and grief and anger and any other emotion that you're feeling. It's okay to do that. Just don't let yourself fall into depression, because that could be devastating for you and your family. So yeah, we are kind of on this journey, I guess, and we're not going to give up. As hard as it is right now to think about, because it's still so fresh and so hard to deal with, we're okay. And I know that we're going to get through this together. I told her, I was like, if we can get through this, like, we can get through anything in our marriage. And we are firm believers that after every storm comes a little rainbow. So we're not going to give up. We're not going to give up until we have a healthy, beautiful baby or babies in our arms. And so yeah, that's my story, guys. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm pretty much an open book as far as like my situation. And like I said, it's still really fresh for me, but I'm getting to the point where I'm kind of finding a strength in what's going on, and I want to be able to, like, you know, talk to other women, especially like that are in like the same situation, or possibly, you know, have been there and just have never been able to speak about it from fear or, you know, anything like that. Just know that I am here if you need to talk. And if you guys have any questions, comments, you know, feel free to leave them down below, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.